Hello and welcome to Monarchist Minute, Monarchist news out of the good old US of A. I am Charles York, and before we get into our main program, we have some news close to home to cover. Around 5:45 p.m. on Thursday, the 7th of October, the Monarchist of America Discord was taken down by Discord for harassment. Needless to say, the accusation was false. Fortunately, our backup server swung into action, and a new MOA server is up and running. All links to YouTube have been updated to the new link. For all of you on our Discord, we have a good idea of who did this and why. Secondly, we must remember that this person or persons are made in the image and likeness of God. So, besides the obvious interest to not retreat to yet another server, keep in mind that you have no right to harass this person or persons, even if the user or users in question attack us first with no provocation. Thank you for listening to this brief PSA, and we will now get into our first regular topic. Victor.
Thank you very much, Charles. This past Monday was the 111th anniversary of the deposition of the Portuguese monarchy, and now I will read a statement. Forgive my absolutely terrible Portuguese. This has not been, I have not practiced this. Nós iremos fazer episódio especial em homenagem para a Casa de Bragança, mas por conta de que ocorreu com nosso servidor, não conseguimos encontrar tempo para pedir a alguém para falar. Nos pedimos muitas desculpas pela inconveniência e nos sofremos com voces esta semana. Now, translated into English, what I actually said, thank you to Fred for the Portuguese translation. We were going to do a special tribute episode to the House of Braganza, but because of what happened to our server, we could not find the time to request anyone to speak. We are deeply sorry for the inconvenience, and we grieve with you on this week. And needless to say, this was a very sad week for Portugal. And now for our second topic, I will hand it off to our Chancellor, John.
What is our second topic?
See, this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you have crisis mode activated.
We're
we were
all
talking about Facebook and Twitch.
Oh yeah, Facebook and Twitch. They had a data leak. Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Well, Facebook did it. Facebook just went down.
Oh yeah, Facebook just completely dropped off the face of the earth. It wasn't actually only Facebook. It was Instagram, WhatsApp, and I believe one other. It just completely stopped working for what day was it? I don't remember.
Monday.
Monday. Yeah.
Monday. It's an interesting thing. I'm pretty sure they're all of one ilk. They're like part of one massive conglomerate.
Yes, they're all owned by Facebook.
One server thing.
So I guess it would say maybe not keep all your eggs in one basket. Maybe this is a sign that much like us, when we got nuked, we had alternatives. Try and maybe not have a mega conglomerate own 50% of all popular social media websites. Kind of get a little bit of Rooseveltism, or not Franklin, but Teddy Roosevelt ism in here, because this is what happens when we put all of our social media eggs in one massive conglomerate basket.
Or at the very least, if you are going to have all of social media owned by like a couple of massive conglomerates, at least have those massive conglomerates have different servers. Apparently, I'm not sure if this has been confirmed or not. I think it was the Wall Street Journal or something that reported this. I was reading the BBC article. No ums. I was reading the BBC article, and apparently, according to the Washington Journal or something, the employees who were trying to get into the server room to fix it couldn't get in because the doors or the locks, I guess, were on the server. Like even the building itself was on the server. Which, on the
Oh
one
my
hand,
God.
if gosh, I mean, we shouldn't take delight in other people's miseries, but you have to admit, if this was an episode of The Simpsons, and we're pretending we live in a world where The Simpsons is still like, good, I slogged through each season for no reason. It's just pure misery at this point. But it would be a funny sketch, except the thing this actually happened. It's out of a cartoon, but it actually happened. Clown World.
Yep. Well,
So
it's a unfortunate situation.
server room, and the servers were down. They couldn't get into the room.
You think that like a lock and key, just like a lock and a
My.
key, like what the janitor carries around with the big. Does Facebook's janitors not have a bunch of keys? Did they just have like
In addition,
cards?
This is
and
what
additionally, I'm pretty sure like a chunk of
becoming
Facebook
too
is missing
dependent
right
on
now.
technology.
What did you say, Victor?
Like a chunk of Facebook is missing because they didn't like back up the code or anything. I'm pretty sure that's a thing now.
I don't
Like
remember
a
seeing
chunk
that.
of Facebook is just gone,
I don't remember seeing that, but
from what I've heard.
stop saying
That might not be true. They might have
yeah,
been able to refill it or back it up with somehow, but
yeah.
from what I've
Um,
seen,
I
it's just off the face of the world.
like it.
Crazy.
Obviously, this attack was done. We don't know whether
it wasn't
this
an
was.
attack.
Oh,
It
we
was. It
don't
was.
know. We
Sorry.
don't know.
Was it
We
just an
don't know
oopsie?
whether.
It was a server update error or something, and that was the same thing that happened to Twitch. And
Oh man.
it's sort of weird because you have you have Facebook and all these other Mark Zuckerberg things going down for 6 hours or about, and then you have, which is kind of annoying, and you have a lot of websites where you can sign in using Facebook, and obviously that wasn't working at the time. But then you have Twitch, which is kind of worse because the same. I'm not a techie. I'm not as into like codes and stuff as I really ought to be. But from what I've read, it seems like the same general thing caused both issues. Except this time there was a massive data leak, including with Twitch, including the amount of money that was paid out to certain creators, and some of those creators told the BBC, "Yep, this is accurate." So scary. But
Man.
if I will just say, as bad as this is, I almost I mean, I care about the fact that people's personal information got stolen, but the fact that this happens rarely, like rarely enough to be an international story, it sort of makes me think that yeah, the people who are writing the code, generally speaking, know what they're doing. It's like airlines, right? Like thousands of flights happen every single day and go off without a hitch. It's just when like one flight goes wrong that it becomes a major story, right?
Okay. Yeah. And with the Twitch leak, there were a lot of people that were very upset at the amount of money people have made off of Twitch. And I will say that if you can make a living off Twitch and you can make that much just from your streaming, then good for you. You should be able to keep doing it as you please. However, it's the whole sexual immorality thing that some streamers may have done. I don't know whether those figures got leaked or not, but that's got to stop. If you're playing something like Fortnite or League of Legends or any of the other games that are popular among Twitch streamers like Ninja and others, it good for you. Keep doing it. Nobody should be shaming you into doing like a real job, etc. But it goes both ways. Like you say that you depend on the donations of others, and when those figures come out and you make the money that you make, well, you can't exactly cry anymore on your Twitch streams, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, For me,
I mean, it gets to a point where a lot of these streamers like insist that you pay them in addition to viewing them. So you know, it. I just don't like you have the people who are like, it's okay, you can just view our content, and then those are the people. There are certain people that just say, hey, if you do a certain thing, or you need to sub to me, or tier 3 sub, all that stuff, and they demand you do it. And there tends to be a link between the people who do that and the people that have the most to be exposed in this leak, from what I've heard, what Victor said.
I don't use Twitch at all, so I have nothing valuable to add to this conversation.
Yeah, I
I don't
use
either, but that
Twitch
doesn't.
regularly, but I use Twitch regularly, but I tend to watch just regular people who don't essentially bribe their audience to sub to them.
I don't use Twitch either, but that doesn't stop me from pretending I'm an authority on the subject.
I mean, it all boils down to even if you don't view Twitch, there are people who are abusing Twitch for certain things in certain other websites that can be a problem. And I guess this whole data leak, I don't know much about the data leak, but I know it's exposed some of that, which needs to be out in the light. And the Twitch team needs to step up. And they haven't been doing so for a very long time. And I've heard very bad things coming out of their team. So I don't know. I don't really know a lot on the topic, but it is what it is.
Polish, you've been silent.
Yeah, I don't want to cut in when people are talking.
Do you have
Oh, come on. We do it all the time.
Yeah, we do it all the time. Come on, do it. Everybody's doing it. It won't harm you.
do you have any thoughts on the Facebook or Twitter leaks?
To be honest, I think they deserved it.
Yeah. I mean,
Really?
Based. I don't know.
I mean,
Kinda
it's
based.
sort of, if it wasn't for the fact that people's, like, Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg is fine, and it's not like the 6 billion or whatever he lost in stock was actual money out of his account, because stock is weird and complicated, and I hate public trading. It makes everything all confusing. But
Yeah, let's be honest. They're gonna survive from this.
yeah,
It's not
gonna
gonna be like,
survive.
oh.
But I can't really say I sure hope someone got fired for this blunder, because it's like, that guy might actually have like a wife and kids to support. So
Yeah.
it's I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that people were gonna, that in some way, I'm sure somebody, like with the Twitch thing, obviously that was actual data getting leaked. If it wasn't for the fact that there was actual harm, in even if it was relatively small, done by these things, then I would
Yeah.
say, let's have a good laugh about it. And we can still kind of laugh about it, but it's still,
You can laugh at the corporation, but it very much sucks that the regular content creator on that website that's just trying to make a living off of that website might have gotten their data exposed, which very much sucks.
And but I guess if we I will say this though. I don't necessarily buy the story that they somehow managed to gain entrance into the server room without breaking the door. They totally smashed, they totally took those nice office plants or whatever that the corporations will put around the office to make it not seem dystopian. They totally just threw one of those through the door to gain access.
1984.
Anyway,
It's like, oh
moving
no, it
on.
just happened. Oh no, golly.
Moving
AI
on.
plants.
Moving on to a bit of happy news. This today, out of the Czech Republic, they
Oh yeah,
are.
Monarchists in Czechia
I've
are
heard this one.
demanding a referendum on the monarchy.
How popular is it over there? haven't gotten any
I've heard they
solid
have
information on that.
8% in Parliament or whatever.
I don't like those numbers. Maybe
They
they
have
can
how
cut
many
a
seats in
deal
Parliament?
with 8% of Parliament. I don't know.
Yeah,
I hope they can strike a deal with the Conservatives or something.
If I don't know, I really wouldn't call a referendum unless you at least have 45%
Yeah.
projected approval at the start of it. It just seems stupid because, even if 5 years later you have a much larger support base, how likely is it that the government will say, yeah, let's do another referendum? Although I have heard no indication that, granted I haven't been looking into it too much, that the Czech government is actually seriously considering doing
Let
this
me
referendum.
actually Czech Republic, Parliament. I love how many republics now have parliaments. Like that wasn't a monarchist
Actually, in my psych
assembly.
class, we do this fun fact. I get to write a fun fact of the day, and then I for whatever reason, and it just sort of happened. And I said, prime minister originally meant first servant of the king, and I said, for all of you republics out there who have prime
And then
ministers,
screech.
stop it. I said, just stop it.
At least own it. Own that you're a republic. Don't reform it to a Congress or something. Well, I mean, when we'll have a monarchy, it'll be a Congress. So I guess, haha, right back at you or something.
I don't
They're
know.
not going to remove it.
I still prefer changing it to Parliament just because I like Parliament as it sounds a lot more. But
I mean,
that's more
I
semantics.
kind of get a bad taste in my mouth when I hear Parliament because of all the things the parliaments do to
Yeah, Parliament.
whittle away the power of the monarch. I'm just kind of no, I'm good.
Parliament ever since they assented to Henry VIII's Act of Supremacy has kind of been just a cringe-topia. But as they say, Guy Fawkes was the last person to enter Parliament with honest intentions, and that was how many years ago?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what is the monarchist party in Czechia?
I knew
I'm
it
trying
at
to
one
figure
point.
out. Huh?
We followed them on Twitter. I don't know if I can pronounce the name though.
Because I'm
because it is
looking
a
through.
Slavic name. Wait, pull it.
Yeah.
Corono Česka.
Carlono. What? Okay, let me see if I can find it.
Just type it in the chat.
Because I'm
just
looking
have
at
Polish
the
speaking again.
No, well, yeah,
looking
but
at the Czech Republic's parliament right now through
there it
Wiki.
is. Oh,
Let's see. George Floyd. What? Okay. Karuna Tetka. Oh,
English.
we've interacted with them before, I believe. I can't find them in Parliament. Trying to. Let's see. I think this is the one.
Corona. Haha, Corona.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not. Heck.
No,
I can't find it
Ladies
in
and gentlemen, I just wanted to let everybody know that's listening on YouTube, we do record this live, so
which is why we're all bumbling.
Yeah, this is
They don't.
This is what you got, dude.
According to Wikipedia, they do not have anybody in their Senate in the Senate, which I assume is the national body, but they do have 3 people out of the 61,892 local council members.
Oh, geez, man. Goodness gracious.
With that representation, I'm sure this will succeed.
They need to start more fusing, trying to get the conservatives of that nation.
I mean, they according to Wikipedia, they they are steadily on the rise, right? So 2006, according to their Chamber of Deputies, they started out at 113% of the vote. Then they shrunk a little bit to 0.07 in 2010. 2013, they was up to 0.17, and then in 2017, just 4 years later, they got this massive, comparatively massive 5.53%. They didn't get any seats, but that's a much larger percent of the vote, and that is sort of a similar-ish kind of trend with the European Parliament. So yeah, there's still no seats.
Yeah, it's
but
kind of crazy. I didn't. What was the poll? I know we were floating around a poll for monarchism in America. I know we were floating around a poll.
the
About
link
it.
to that poll's results, I think, was on the old server.
Yeah, like
we
oh
were
no,
at
it was
nine-
not. I'm not talking about an interior poll. It was talking about like there's like popularity of monarchism in different nations, and I think America was actually like 15% or something like that.
No, it was 5.
What? It was 5, but you know
But was
that's
that 5%
not far
of people
off
who
from
would?
like 8.
Yeah, was that 5% of people who would be all right with the monarchy, or 5% of people who are like, "Vive le roi"? Because that's
Oh
a very
man,
big
Congress
difference.
approval rating here in the United States is around 10%. Yikes!
That's 10% too high.
What approval rating?
The congressional approval rating. I'm sorry, as long as there are any congressmen, Congress's approval rating is too high. But
And not to go off topic, but I just noticed something funny going through the Wikipedia for the Czechian Parliament. Bohemia was the name of the Kingdom of Czechoslovakia. Well, I guess the Kingdom of Czechia.
Yes.
Bohemia. Only one party in the entire Czechian Assembly goes by the name Bohemia, or includes the name Bohemia. Guess which party it is?
please tell me it's not the SPD. Please tell me it better not be the SPD.
Yeah.
They better not have Social Democrats.
It's KSCM,
Which
the
is
Communist Party of Bohemia.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling.
the
I had
communists.
It goes by Bohemia.
The communists
Jesus.
are, at least in
What even
in
is-
semantics, these communists are based. At least in
Like-
semantics. Everything else they're cringe. But
Like,
Man,
what is the difference? It's kind of weird because I don't know the lingo, but like, what is the semantics between Czechia and Bohemia? Like,
I
why
guess-
is?
Polish, would you like to?
Yeah, you're closer than us, so what
Wait,
do you say
the
about
difference
it?
between Czechia and Bohemia?
Like in terminology, like why do they call themselves the Czech Republic, and not like the Republic of Bohemia or something like that?
Because there's a myth called Lech, Czech, I Rus. Is basically 3 brothers that started the Slavic kind of like
people.
The Lech was the Lechites, which is Poland. Czech is the Czechs, and Rus is Russia. So that's my guess.
Where did the Southern Slavs come from then?
We don't talk about them. They're forgotten. As a quarter, being a quarter Slovak, they're the ones they're the ones we leave alone.
They're mutants.
Closest I've gotten is German. That's the closest I've gotten to Slovak in my family.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You got the East and the West Slavs. We're connected. We have a common land border. But then I don't know why I'm saying
And then
we.
you just have
I live over
Hungary,
there.
which is like
But yeah,
steppe
then you have Hungary and
nomads.
Austria separating Slovakia and the Czech Republic from Slovenia and the other South Slavs. So we just let them do their own thing, committing war crimes and writing folk songs about it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that like you have Slavs all over Eastern Europe, and then you just have Hungary, which is like a Magyar, like nomads that came into Hungary just over the course of 1,000 years.
And then you have Romania.
Magyars are closer related to the Finns and the people of the Urals.
And then you have
It's something
the
like that.
Romanians.
They were nomads at one point, so they just kind of like went, like Uralic nomads, and they just settled down in Carpathia.
And then you just have the Romanians, who are this island of Latin in the Sea of Slav.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eastern Europe is weird. I love it, but it's weird.
And then you have Albania, which is the last.
Albania is not to be spoken about.
Slavs.
Albania is not supposed to be spoken about.
Anyway,
It's blocked from the whole world.
Okay, so before this just turns into a carbon copy of 2 Balkan for you.
We
Yeah.
have now it is question time. So if you have questions, type them in the VC text chat and we will ask those questions. We will read those questions out and our panel will answer those questions.
You could tell we had nothing to talk about this week.
If
Yeah, I mean, most of our
if you
energy
leave
went to
a
like.
if you leave
Facebook.
if you are watching us on YouTube on Monday, you can drop us a question in the comments section below and we will get to it on the next episode. We
And by
want
all
to give
means,
that,
please join our Discord if you're curious about what we do, because
yes.
But
you're down people now.
yes, we need we to fuel the not true myth of just Soviets, throwing manpower at the problem. We lost all of our men in a blaze of German machine gun fire, and we need more conscripts. So
Oh, guys, you know how
Okay, so
we were talking about Europe and stuff. Poland is actually like not abiding by EU law and stuff.
based.
anyway, two
No,
questions have come in. The first is from Thor Kilhoun. He wants our opinions on Emperor Puyi, and I don't know who that is.
Oh,
he
Emperor
was
Puyi,
the
the infant
last
emperor of China.
who was then like the puppet. Was it puppet emperor or
Yeah,
puppet king?
Manchukuo. I think
Manchukuo as the
Manchukuo.
Japanese
Manchuria.
call
Just
it.
call it Manchuria. Yeah, that he was a puppet in Manchuria.
Okay.
Hulk. So he, I don't know. I don't think that he actually
He's sus.
ruled with any real power. So I don't know. I don't
He was
like
a
puppet
child by the
monarchs.
time.
And then he was captured by the Chinese communists, and
And then it turned into a communist. So
and turned him into a puppet figurehead to basically support the revolution.
yeah.
Huh.
So
I don't remember that part. I do remember him getting taken over and like essentially put on the throne
yeah. I mean,
by the
so after
Japanese.
I think like after the war or at the end of the war, he ended up in this like Far Eastern Soviet like camp thingy, and then the Soviets handed him over to the Chinese communists, and then he was like in a prison for a while, and then when he came out, he's like, I can't do a Chinese accent without sounding
Yeah, honestly,
racist, but
yeah,
he
in
was
my
like, "Viva
honest
la
opinion,
revolution!"
yeah, he wasn't the best option for the throne. I mean, he was on the throne for a while. But
Yeah.
I just don't know. It seemed like the whole system of old China was just looking for an excuse to collapse. I don't know. After a bunch of after a bunch of what the British and the colonial powers did to China, it just kind of like collapsed it. I don't know.
Okay, moving on. Question from Ornstein. Should we establish monarchy in the U.S.? Would we have a parliament/Congress? If so, how much power over the monarch would they hold?
Nothing.
Well, our
Base.
platform that still exists. It didn't die. It's still alive.
The platform is
Uh,
up my drive, and you'll never take it off, Google.
yeah. Um, yeah.
Come and take it.
It's still alive. Ideally speaking, we will revert most of what made Congress at least
Cringe.
great to the beginning, um, like Senate being selected by the legislator. Of course, the details behind that will change depending on if we had sub monarchs, how their relationship would be with selecting senators, and would the senators be members of their family or chosen jointly by the monarch of a state or the governor general of a state or something like that.
You
But
know,
something to that effect. But aside from that, I think we haven't. Essentially, we have a monarch that's unelected, that's hereditary, that has a little bit more power than a president has, which is a lot, mind you. The president has a lot of power. So,
yeah.
if you just slap a crown on the president as at right now, it's a semi-constitutional monarchy, in my
Please don't do
opinion.
that.
I'm not going to, but I'm just saying,
For me,
Yeah, I mean,
please,
we're living in a semi-constitutional republic, so we might as well change it to a semi-constitutional monarchy. I
well, you
mean,
know what
come on,
Aristotle
guys.
said. You know what
What
Aristotle
did he
said?
say?
Democracies. I had it. I have it written down, but I'm too lazy to go and get it out the notebook I copied it down in. But he said
Yeah,
that
I'm kind of the camp
democracies.
like polity. I don't know.
Yeah,
Charles
no,
Cullen
but
mentioned this. What were you saying?
no, well,
I'll let you
sorry,
finish.
but democracies dislike tyrannies because they are akin. So it's like how the potter will hate the potter, right? So like how you hate your business competition because you're in the same field. Whereas monarchy and aristocracy hate tyranny because they are of a completely different kind. So our current system, which hates itself because it's oligarchy, tyranny, and democracy all at once.
Yeah,
But for me, I mean, I wouldn't mind just changing it to parliament, and with the senators being appointed, I wouldn't mind them being selected by like the duke or whatever. If the states go monarchical themselves, or the state body at the very least,
yeah. I
sending
think at the very least we
nobles.
should add like a mandate of saying each person admitted or each state readmitted to a new constitution would need to either have a governor general at its head, um, a governor general at its head, or a monarch at its head.
Yeah. So with that, I wouldn't mind the Senate becoming like a House of Lords of sorts, and then the House of Commons just being Congress. But
Yeah, I mean, I
especially
think
with
it's
the
like
House of
something we need to,
Commons,
yeah. It's
especially with the
definitely
House of
something
Commons.
we need. Yeah, we need to suss that out. We kind
Yeah.
of talked about like we have a loose, you know, for the most part, the Congress how it functions stays the same, except you have a president of Congress,
Mhm.
which is a throwback to old America,
Yeah.
Articles of Confederation America. But we don't really have details of how or who is in that Senate in those Senate spots.
Yeah.
We don't
But
really have that, which
especially
I would
for
love to get nailed down, but there's no
yeah,
rush.
yeah. But especially for the House of Commons and like elected positions, there definitely should be term limits because seeing
Oh
how
yeah,
because
oh
like
yeah,
seeing how like these people who have been in Congress for so long just sort of get their claws into everything, right? And how it's sort of like you think that one congressman, we have what 435 uh
yeah,
being members of the House of Representatives. We we have 435 reps, but if they stay there long enough, they're going to get really influential. But more importantly, they're sort of going to lose touch with the common
It's,
man.
the number I believe is 438 because
438, yeah. Sorry, but it used to be, and this is what I would like to encourage. Right, you got the shop owner or the farmer. They say, hey, there's this thing. I don't really think that that's good. So they go. So they're like, hey, fellow chums, and this is sort of the problem with having so many people that you really. What are the chances personally you're a representative, right? I mean, not that that was necessarily going to happen all the time back when the ratio of representatives to people was much smaller. But you get elected, you go to Washington, you fix the thing that you got sent there for, and then you went home and did whatever you were doing before, right?
Now, if I may,
Okay.
if we do instate term limits on Congress, we're eventually going to run into the problem and the argument that, well, if there are term limits on Congress, then why do we have an executive that runs for life? So we're going to open the door for basically a Republican counter argument.
Well,
that is true.
that is true, but they need to shut up. No.
Well, you got to think there's so many people in the
let's save
representative
the re-
spot.
let's save the rest of this conversation for after the podcast.
But
If
boy,
there are
I
any
mean,
other, if there are any
we're
other,
still waiting
well,
for
we still got
the Monarchist Minutes after hours.
yeah. Well,
We need to have that going.
Polish
but,
was about to bring up
Polish is
something
on
about
one.
like Polsket,
What?
or a potential Poland leaving the EU, which would just be
Yeah,
so based.
it would be beautiful.
And it'd be even better if it became a monarchy again.
Yes, but Poland.
Wait, like the party that has that has monarchists in it, like only hold like 6 seats. Not even
Eh.
6 seats. They hold like more. Like there's the Confederation thing that is
sorry to
like
cut you off, Polish. We have a question from Darth Calhoun. How would the
Yeah,
Imperial Army work in your view?
I mean,
Ooh. I'll
hmm.
let anybody else who wants to go first because I've been talking a lot. But
Well, I will
That's a
allow
thing to
Darth.
think
I
about.
will actually allow Darth to answer his own question because we haven't
Yeah,
actually given it much thought.
well, actually, I have some ideas just off the top of my head. But Darth can go first since he's already here.
yeah, same.
Darth.
We got Darth. Hello.
I
what?
suppose he might be
He's gone.
plugging his stuff in.
Hmm.
Oh,
Well,
there you go.
I guess then I'll go first unless anybody else wants to.
I mean, it
You go.
for me.
Well, so
You can go. I'm still mulling
yeah,
it over in my head.
so they're definite. So the standing. Once again, I'm just going to operate on the premise that I get all of you to see straight, and we use the term king. But but you know there would definitely be the standing royal army, but it would unless like it's World War III and we need all hands on deck. The standing royal army would be a lot smaller. We would return to the regiment system, right? So you would so like the people in your unit would be from your area, right? So your sergeant is used to live down the street from you or whatnot. So we return to the regiment system, but the army would be much smaller and much more professional, which means that there wouldn't be necessarily as much room for advancement. But at the same time, it is not like we just have a bunch of officers. If you're promoted, it was based off merit. And then
Mhm.
more emphasis would be placed on the royal militias, either militias which are commissioned on behalf of the king by the governor general or local authority, or more local authority, or the actual formed government militias. Ideally, I would like to see mandatory militia service, but that probably isn't going to happen. But, so you would have the militias, which, really should. Sort of like how the National Guards are trained to army standards so they can be federalized in times of war. The state militias, the state royal militias would do that. Considering that, the basis of the National Guard really was the royal militias in the first place. It was just sort of at the beginning of the Revolutionary War, we yeeted out all the royalists and then just, took over. Because,
Yeah,
that's.
it'd be well. Actually, we didn't yeet them all out. There were still people that existed that were loyalists that just had to keep their mouths shut because I think like 3/4 or
You could be,
two
or
thirds of
you could be one of my ancestors and get his huge property seized by the post-revolution government.
yeah. That happened a lot. Oh, he's gone.
Oh no, Darth does not
Oh
get to answer his own question.
yeah. He might type it out. Go ahead and type it out if you can. We'd
He's
love to
not
hear it.
listening anymore.
Oh yeah. Oh
No,
dang.
no,
He
he's,
is. He
he's in the
is.
Not listening.
audience.
Oh, he's
He's in
listening.
the
He's in the
audience.
audience.
No, so
Um,
yeah,
once you're
anyway.
done, I'd like to jump in and see. Oh, why is Craig in
Well,
here?
why is Craig now?
Is he taking over? What is happening?
This is Craig. Craig is now
No.
Craig for
Darth,
supreme
can you
leader.
hear me?
Is it
Okay, there
working
we go.
now?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
working.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
on.
Fine.
Uh, okay, so essentially my question was, well, I was also wondering if you were gonna have like the stateside army, like how how the Bavarian army functioned in the German Empire.
Was
I
it
was
a
pretty much
separate army
semi.
within the Kaiserreich?
Yes, it was. But they the Kaiser was seen as the grand commander-in-chief of all the separate armies in the German
Yeah, that's
Empire.
actually closer to what I was thinking.
And the Bavarian army was pretty much like it had its own dress uniforms, but all its equipment were up to imperial standard. So that kind of answered my question.
Yeah, that is sort of because I did just learn today that unless the National Guard units are federalized, technically their commander in chief is not the president; it's the governor, right? So if you're in the
Oh yeah.
Michigan National Guard, you're faced with the daunting prospect of your commander in chief being Governor Whitmer.
I mean,
Yep.
when I was joining, I went to MEPS with a few guys that were joining the Guard, and they actually take 2 oaths. We only take one on the federal side.
Yeah.
They take an oath both to the president, and then they take another one to their state and governor.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, in that case, and it was like what you were saying. Like my ideal is having a commander in chief be the monarch, and at the very least, the monarch having the power to grant the title of commander in chief to somebody who's willing to. If the monarch isn't that well versed in military knowledge, or they're not that tactical,
I mean,
or something like that.
In most monarchies, that's why like the prince was always in the armed forces
Yeah,
prior to
something like
inheriting.
regent commander in chief or something like that, or some alternative title that you can like bestow upon somebody or a prince of something or something like that, or a family member to say, hey, they will be commander in chief on my behalf and be like the 6-star general, like Washington was,
I'm
or
a much
something like
admirer of at least how Prussia took care of that issue of like the monarch not having any military experience, because the crown prince always had a corps of the army that he commanded,
that.
and he was very well. That's why how the Prussian princes were always very well versed in warfare. Is they specifically gave them a corps of troops to lead.
That is a good idea. You keep getting more and more notes from Imperial Germany. Like there's so much gold. Like there's a gold mine in there, dude.
Now,
Honestly, I think it'd be like a good template to not necessarily copy paste, but take notes
Yeah,
from.
we're not copy and pasting, but there's some like
We
little
respect
nuggets we can take
copyright.
from them. Yeah, yeah, we
Anyway.
respect copyright. We can just take nuggets from what they had,
Yeah.
and
if
like,
I may weigh in,
oh yeah, Will, I shortened your name to Will because I couldn't fit your entire name on your thing. But yeah, go ahead.
I would like to say in contrast to Charles, if we have a small standing army, a regiment system wouldn't be effective because we'd have small groups of people that are just from isolated local areas. If we were to have a small standing army, we would have to get rid of the regiment system. That way we can make
I kind of beg to differ on that point, because the Army Reserve and the National Guard, they're still on the regimental system, but they operate very locally, but they're still effective fighting forces nonetheless. It's just you got to still maintain that absolute standard, and that's why all officers are all centrally trained, all NCOs are centrally trained. It's only really when you get down to like the junior enlisted where it's kind of like the skill.
Yeah, I
the
really
skill
like
level
that
varies.
idea.
But
Yeah.
I'm talking about if we're gonna have a small standing army, we're not gonna want to have like 25 or how many different localized units of just really small groups of soldiers. When if we're gonna have a small standing army, we should have a few large groups of soldiers that are just recruited from all over the nation.
Well,
And
I
then
mean,
we could build up a militia for the basic states.
Well, I mean, my idea, I guess, would be that the standing army. I guess if we're really do have a small standing army, then mayhaps the regiments would have to be much larger than traditional regiments, and you would have the first Michigan as opposed to the first Detroit regiment or something. Yeah, but
And I'm very
didn't we
much
have that in the Civil War? Weren't all the regiments that were like owned by the state governments named the first Michigan or the third Michigan or the was it the fifth? What's? Hold on. Now I need to look up the state song. Michigan, my Michigan base state song.
And I'm very much for adopting the Swiss system of state-sponsored paramilitary, where not necessarily all citizens are required to serve, but compulsory military training is a thing, and that the citizens are capable of being drawn upon for fighting force in a relative instant.
That seems like
I
that's
mean, I
good.
I'm personally just an advocate for a 2-year mandatory conscription for males, but that's just
Base.
me.
Yeah, but
Well,
my
There's
I
a
will mention though, if you do, the next person that attempts to advocate for that in the public sphere, like in the legitimate public sphere of campaigning for any office, they would get their head on a proverbial pike for even attempting that after Vietnam.
and which is why I say
Well,
compulsory military training would be acceptable, because we could always tie it in with the Second Amendment and tie it in with ideas of teaching gun safety and prop.
you're kind of cutting out, Will. But
He's essentially saying that
yeah,
he would tie it in with the Second Amendment and gun safety, etc.
well, it used to be like in colonial times, like it was often compulsory that you had to be in the militia. So I don't, and not necessarily like a national or even state level mandate, but hypothetically, you could have a bunch of local governments say, okay, all able-bodied men ages blah 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 blah. You gotta show up in downtown so we can do some drills, and then we can go down to Home Depot and buy a new power drill because they need to do that. Not
We
making
could
that.
use that. We could
I
use that as a
the
method of
idea.
localizing FEMA too, because the militia doesn't necessarily have to just be military. They can be law enforcement, disaster response. It can be an all-around service, basically to draw from in the event of a crisis to help solve problems.
But we have
so
people
so
on
the
the
current
left.
National Guard.
We have people on the left that people on the right that don't particularly care for the National Guard being sent to something like a hurricane to do
Mm.
cleanup. I know that they're
What?
attempting to send the Marine Corps to Haiti to help with their earthquake cleanup, and people didn't exactly care for that.
I mean, I guess since it's like, I don't know, it's like another nation entirely, and we're just doing that. We're just like risking militiamen lives, American militia, their lives over in Haiti. Maybe that's the thing that everybody's mad about. I mean, I kind of like the idea of having, it's almost like a 40K outlook where you have regiments and they're all like kind of, for each state you have kind of personalized, a little
The
personalized,
Imperial Guard.
yeah. Like they're personalized, you know, kind of to the state, but they follow the imperial standard in a way. And like, yeah, their commander chief is the monarch of that state, and the governor general of that state, and they kind of follow their own like substandard, but then again also follow the. But then again, the National Guard's a militia, so do we want to have the concept of baking the militia? Well, I mean, it is in the military, but it's not in the army.
It is the army. Like it's people get this wrong. The National Guard is just a component within the Department of the Army.
Oh, okay, okay. Well,
So
it's
yeah, it's
publicized as like an offshoot, kind of like how the Marines are with the Navy. And
That's a very common perception amongst the civilians, yes. But in reality, like when we go to basic training, guys that signed up with the National Guard are right beside guys that are joining active duty army. We all go to basic training. We all go to the same job schools. We're all called up to military. It's all
yeah.
still the same military service in the army. Just one stateside and the other sides are federal.
Fed
Mm.
boys.
So like my ideal, I guess, would be like I said earlier, like a commander in chief, whether it be the monarch or the prince or whatever, whoever they find in the family to who's a military genius of some kind, and like you said, a corps specific to the monarch or the prince, a princely corps or something like that. I really like that idea. And I also like the whole like giving the states a standard of the people who come from that state. So like if I'm from Louisiana, there's going to be a different sub standard while you're still following kind of like the Bavarian army, how you said they were set up. They have some degree of autonomy in how they're trained, how they're you know so we just have more
But
diversity.
Well, we could make it about specialized environments and landscapes too. Like, for
Yeah,
example,
cool.
Louisiana divisions would be specialized in swamp warfare. Colorado
Now,
could be
mind
specialized.
you, we
Eh.
all
um,
I get your point.
so, do you want me to tell you how each National Guard in each state functions? Because I actually have experience with the National Guard. I've not been in the National Guard, but I've operated with them.
Yeah,
So,
by all means. Yeah.
so each state is its own different brigade within the army, and a brigade is like a regiment. It's just another word for it. Although typically brigades are slightly bigger, um, but they're all their own brigade. And they all specialize in one area of warfare. Like I'll use Montana for instance. They are a cavalry brigade. They are specialized in cavalry warfare. So they have they're mostly armored and mobile infantry and some engineer support. Essentially, all the components to make a full cavalry brigade. North Dakota, on the other hand, is a mostly engineering brigade, and they mostly have like bridgers, combat engineers, construction engineers. So they're mostly in that function. You go to Minnesota, they're an infantry brigade. They're mostly light infantry focused. Not a whole lot of armor. Some engineers and support, but etc. Each state still is specialized to their own means.
Now, one branch I don't think we should touch is the Marines. The Marine Corps is kind of fine the way it is and doing their own thing.
Yeah, they're kind of the elite I would
Uh,
say they're kind of the more
Corps
elite
is the
of
definition
along
of it's not broken and we shouldn't try and fix it.
Well,
um,
issues with
like
the
the
current.
of
There are
just
issues with the current Marine Corps right now, but we are straying far off topic, and that's
Well, it's
is
fine. It's fine.
it's
yeah, it's
it's
fine. It was one of the questions. Are there any more questions so we can
Although, actually, I do have this for Darth Cologne. So, in light of what you said about how each state is sort of a brigade, this does this really kind of clear up. So, in the original version of Michigan, My Michigan, one of the many verses was when worn with watching traitor foes, Michigan, my Michigan, the welcome night brought sweet repose, Michigan, my Michigan. The soldier weary from the fight, sleeps sound nor fears the rebels' might, for Michigan's on guard tonight, Michigan, my Michigan. Does that mean that the entirety of like all Michigan regiments that were serving with that particular army were just like treated as like almost one entire entity, kinda. I
um,
I don't know
I
exactly.
I'm not as familiar with at least during the Civil War times. I only know how the National Guards really operate in today's environment.
Yeah,
Uh,
but yeah.
and
yeah.
that will just about wrap things up. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this podcast. If you would like to join us you can join our Discord. Link is in the description. And you can listen to us live Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Or if you prefer, you can listen to us on YouTube on Mondays. Next week, we plan to talk about economics, which was what we were originally, I suppose, going to be talking about this week.
I have to re-binge all of Tick's videos now.
Yes, and we will conclude in prayer in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, that wraps it up. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.